Good morning and welcome to the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert Gonsoulin, alongside my co-host, Abbie Barkan. We can't wait. We have a great show for y'all this morning. We got the World Series. We got who's hot and who's not. We got picks in college football and everything you need to know in the world of sports. All coming up next on 1-0.
Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand.
I was watching the A&M LSU game with my father. He's an Aggie. And nothing brought me more joy. To throw the touchdown, he was like, oh no!
You heard it here first from Hunter. Book your plane tickets to Omaha today.
It's on a Saturday night. What y'all doing on Saturday night? Just come to the game.
Athletes come out and support the Longhorns. TCU doesn't have a shot against Texas in this game.
Welcome back into 1-0 Sports. We've got a great show for you today. To start off, we're going to recap who's hot and who's not in the world of sports. Abby, first off, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you doing?
Pretty good. My Astros heading into Game 6 of the World Series, 3-2 up on the Phillies. Only one more to hopefully secure their second title in franchise history. But, you know, it's not all about the Astros. Let's just get straight into it. Abby, who's hot and who's not in sports right now?
So even with Austin Eckler, he now is added to the injury report. He has been extremely hot this season. He's been standing out as a receiver. I mean, he's carried the ball 14 times for 36 yards and a touchdown on Monday's game. He set his career high in rushing yards. I mean, this guy has gotten 35 fantasy points for everybody every week. This guy is going off. He's amazing. I mean, look at that touchdown. He's getting into it. So I would say he's my who's hot right now. And or who is not, I would have to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think he honestly it's not been a good show for him recently.
No.
13 touchdowns against 4 interceptions, only 1,800 yards passing this entire season. He's thrown so many
Blitz is coming,
interceptions,
picked up, Rodgers floating it down the
not having a good
seam.
season, and I just don't think he's doing well.
Do you think he's who he used to be?
No, obviously not. I think it's time for him to go.
I think Green Bay's just been struggling just a little bit. You know, I'm going to have to go with Kyle Tucker from the Houston Astros, outfielder. 4 total hits so far in the World Series. He had 3 in Game 1. Even though they dropped that very first game, started out hot. 2 of them were home runs. Just 4 hits. You know, he's kind of a big reason why the Astros have this giant momentum shifter kind of going in. You know, they went down 2-1, but they won the past 2 games. Jeremy Payne is also playing pretty hot. He also has 7 total hits his entire World Series. He had about, I think it was 3 the other night, either 3 the other night or last night, but going into Game 6, Kyle Tucker, Jeremy Payne, 2 players you want to keep an eye on. Abby, I'd say who's not hot, Tom Brady. He is also just not the same.
Yeah, no.
Buccaneers 1-3 at home. Brady was sacked 3 times against the Ravens. I know that people are saying he's having some off-field issues right now that may be affecting his gameplay. However, he is still playing very well with a 49.1 QBR rating and 9 touchdowns. But Buccaneers aren't getting it done, and people usually say it starts with the quarterback. It's Tom Brady. He's not hot in sports right now.
Yeah, I also have to say, I think for both of our not hots is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. It's good to see that there are other quarterbacks coming up into play, and it's not just Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Everyone thinks they're the best of the best, and maybe they were at one time, but I think now it's cool to see that there's other people coming up and running, and maybe it's their time to go.
Think about this new generation: Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. This new generation seems like it's in great hands. Moving on now, we're going to go into what's trending in the world of sports. I want to start off with the MLB in the World Series and the entire reaction globally from Game 5. You know, first off, Game 4, the Houston Astros pitched the first ever combined no-hitter the other night after they lost 7-0 in Game 3. The very first no-hitter was Don Larson's perfect game for the Yankees in 1956. Game 5, they finally took the lead in the series last night, heading back to Houston 3-2. Chas McCormick with a great catch in center field in the 8th inning to almost kind of take away a home run that would have put the Phillies back in the lead. But I'd say that, you know what, the Astros have been playing well. They're going to Game 6, looking to take them their second franchise title. Abby?
Yeah, I think the Astros, you know, them getting that win last night, which was very close and down to the last literal second, I think, you know, they're going back to Houston. I think they really needed to win that in Philly last night to hopefully secure the win in Houston on, what is it, Friday? I guess Saturday tomorrow? Tomorrow night, we'll see. You know, I don't know. I have a, you know, it's definitely hard to win out.
It's hard.
So I have a very good feeling that there's going to be a Game 7, but it's definitely going to be easier to do that now that they're going back to Houston for the rest of the series.
Interesting fact for those who do not know, as long as he's been playing in the league, Justin Verlander's first World Series win was actually last night. He's played in 4 World Series, or about 3. I think he was injured 1 year since being on the Astros. He also played for 1 on the Detroit Tigers, I'm pretty sure. But his very first win as a pitcher in the World Series was last night. You know, Astros took the win, pitched very well, got the job done. Moving on now, NFL trade deadline. Abby, tell me all about it. Who won the deadline?
I think the Ravens won the deadline. The defense, I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul, Roquan Smith. I mean, Roquan Smith out of Georgia, he's my guy. Go Dogs. I think, you know, they're going to be great. Like, good team, solid team. Lamar Jackson, obviously, you know, he does his job. The offense has been doing, I guess, its job at this point. I don't really know, you know, how it's going to play out for sure, but I think the defense definitely won the trade deadline.
That Baltimore defense really like picking up Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
That's huge for them. They've kind of had a problem with blowing a couple leads this season. So, you know, shout out Jordan Gellhood, huge Ravens fan at TSTV. But this pickup will be huge for them. We were actually just talking about Roquan and being on that 2017 Georgia football team and how talented they were, right?
Very talented team. It's a very big shame they didn't win that year, but, you know, they had I mean, that team was amazing. There was, I mean, I couldn't even, countless players, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel in the
Nico
NFL.
Hardman.
I mean, they were great players. I mean, it was a great team. Good guys doing well in the NFL, and so I'm happy for him that he gets to go somewhere where he can thrive.
However, we got to give respect where it's due. That was the rise of Tua Tagovailoa in the national championship game when he came in, took over on the offense, and sealed the deal. I'd have to say, you know what? The 49ers, in my opinion, they won the trade deadline. A lot of people say the Panthers got the better end of this trade with all the draft picks they're getting. I don't know. Look how scary the Niners offense is right now. Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy G, Deebo Samuel. That's 3 great players on the 3 main, you know, offensive positions. I mean, give credit to the O-line, obviously, but look, these quarterback, running back, wide receivers, they're the ones scoring the ball. Deebo Samuel, he's on the wide out. Jimmy G, right under center. Christian McCaffrey right behind him. You know, this is going to be a scary offense, and I think that, you know, the rest of the NFL, like the rest of the season ahead, that's just going to, only time will tell how the Niners will do. Panthers, that's also going to take some time. We don't know who's going to get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round by by the Panthers, but I think right now we can see the immediate effects of the Niners just a little bit more.
Yeah, and Christian McCaffrey last week, he had the first, correct me if I'm wrong, the first receiving, throwing, and running touchdown all in one game.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was the first one.
Since 2005 or some absurd number. I think, you know, it's already showing off that he's a great player, but I think he really fits into this.
He can really
49ers
do it all.
offense, yeah.
He can really do it all. I mean, it's common to see someone run for a touchdown and catch a pass for one, but, you know, to even throw for one, like, this guy can really do it all.
The time.
He can really do it all. So, also moving on, Nets fire Steve Nash, approachingly hiring Ime Udoka. Is this the right move, Abby?
Honestly, I think so. I mean, I'm not really big into the NBA, nor do I know a lot about the NBA, but from what I do know, I do think this will be a good move on their part, you know, trying to, like, revamp the team and see what can happen. I think it's going to be good, but, you know, you can't see it until it happens, so there's not really much to tell about it, honestly.
I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I'm kind of still locked in on football and baseball right now. I'm a big Astros fan, like I've been saying, and I'm a huge football fan, so I haven't really gotten into the NBA mood yet. I love the NBA, but so I don't really quite know. I'm not a full expert on what the Nets are doing, but I did hear Stephen A. Smith. I know People
Yes.
don't always agree with his sports opinions, like who's going to win this game, who's going to win that game. But he did say that Ime Udoka would be a good fit for the Nets coach. I think I trust his judgment on that, and given that he's also a very credible sports expert, I think this would be a good hire. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the best plays in the world of sports, from the MLB to the NBA, NFL, college, all you want to see, all you might have missed, coming up next on 1-0 Sports. Welcome back to 1-0 Sports. Now we're going to recap everything that was just top-notch in the world of sports from the past week in every single sport. We now have Tommy Yarrish joining us. Tommy, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. They're glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you could join. Let's just get right into it. Best World Series play. Abby?
So I actually think we ended up having like the same World Series play, the best
For
World Series play.
multiple of these
Multiple of
categories.
these. So I had I wouldn't say it's a specific play. It was, the last play of the Game 4 no-hitter. Not much to say about it. It was amazing. They, first no-hitter in how long? Forever? Or is this the first no-hitter since 1950? Okay, forever.
Which was a perfect game, actually.
Perfect game. So that was my play. I think you also had the same.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Presley, so Christian Javier made this combined no-hitter with 3 other pitchers. One of them was Ryan Presley, who last night, he actually came into the game around the 8th inning, and he pitched 2 nights in a row, but he sealed the deal last night in Game 5. So Ryan Presley's been playing pretty hot out of the bullpen for the Houston Astros. Astros got a good bullpen. Saved Verlander. They helped Verlander. McCullers didn't have the best game the other night, but it's good to know for Houston fans that their pitching depth is pretty good. Tommy, what do you have to say?
Well, it's a pretty hard choice because you guys got the same thing. So I'll just give you both a point here, just because it's the same thing. You guys both explained it pretty well.
Super tough decision, huh?
Yeah, really hard. You're making my job difficult.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Best NBA Play of the Week. Abby, what do you got?
I had this amazing shot by Mason Plumlee on the Hornets. Not that I'm not a big NBA fan, but look at this. This was insane. You're like, did he really take all this? More than 2 steps, the whole thing. But it was crazy. So that was my favorite play of the week.
Might be the best play that Mason Plumlee's made in his entire career.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know the last time I heard his name was.
Yeah, probably not. But it was a pretty good play. Yeah.
I got Jason Tatum with his posterizer on Jarrett Allen to send the game into overtime. The Cavs still in this game, but watch this right here. Boom! Tie game. It's going into OT.
Somewhat of a foul there, too.
Yeah, but look at that. Jason Tatum's all fired up. Going on Jarrett Allen, who went to Texas, right?
Yeah,
dunking on a Longhorn, but Cavs would still win the game by 1 point, but that kind of got the Celtics and Boston fans fired up. I'd say that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Roberts here with Jason Tatum just because that play was unreal. I remember watching that one live on ESPN a couple nights ago. So Celtics ended up winning that one.
It's pretty electric. Moving on now. Okay, biggest funny of the week. I kind of took a different route on this one, but Abby, tell me about.
I think mine wins automatically.
We'll see.
Confidence.
It was hilarious.
Go ahead.
This was during the Seattle Seahawks game when there was sideline interference by Pete Carroll in the ref. All right, so you see that flag go up. And then when the ref comes over and he's about to say sideline interference, whatever, he says the Seattle Mariners. Just watch and wait. Come on, just watch. It's amazing. You can't hear it, but he says the Seattle Mariners, silent interference, Seattle Mariners. And then Pete Carroll and, everybody's so confused. And then Pete Carroll starts, running up and down the field. And he's like, the Seahawks. He's yelling. He's like, it's the Seahawks. Come on. Really, ref?
How do you get their own team name?
I thought it was hilarious. I watched it live, and I was very confused myself. But, it was hilarious.
My take on this for worst blooper of the week, Justin Verlander did get his first win in the World Series for his entire career last night, but he came in Game 1 firing 5-0 lead in the game, and he blows the entire lead. Philly's coming back, hit after hit, tie game, 5-5. Philadelphia's on top, and they just steal the game. Verlander doesn't get what he's been wanting all career, which is not just that ring, not just another ring, but a World Series win. But last night kind of changed it.
Brutal. Yeah, this is a pretty easy call. I'm going with the Seattle Mariners here. That's just absolutely ridiculous. You're an official in the NFL. It takes you so much time to get to that level, and then you finally have your moment. You're on the big screen, the mic's on in front of 40,000 people, and you just butcher it. So that's got to be the blooper of the week for me.
Moving on now, I think this is another category where Abby and I both chose the same exact play, but it's best college football play of the week. Abby, I'll let you kick it off.
This is my team, the Georgia Bulldogs. We have Stetson Bennett over here. national champion winner, throwing it to Brock Bowers. He fumbles it off the defense. Oh, and then he finishes it for a touchdown. He might be the best player in all of college football. I stand by that. I think he's amazing. Love watching the Florida Gators lose. It's one of my all-time favorite things to watch. So this was amazing. I mean, just overall great play.
I mean, Georgia's always kind of had this strong depth of tight ends. Brock Bowers this year, Isaac Nada in the past. They had another one on that 2017, 2018, 2019 year. I can't remember his name, but you know, Georgia's kind of always just pretty strong. I like to say they're like tight end university almost. People call them running back university. I think the name tight end university is a little bit underrated for the Bulldogs, though. What would you say?
I would say Iowa's tight end university. They're pretty good on the offensive line. You know, when you got the guys up front, I think Iowa's.
An argument could be made for Georgia, though.
The past couple of years, yes.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, that's kind of been a big argument for like just colleges all over. Who's running back university? Who's QB university? Wide receiver university? You know, you don't really hear about the tight end conversation though.
Yeah, tight end is a little bit of a difficult one, just because you know they come from all over the place. But like I said, I think Iowa and Georgia really are the two that stand out the most the past couple of years. You could even argue Oklahoma a little bit.
You could, yes.
I think Georgia's running back university. I mean, the people they have produced out of there. I mean, if you want to go defense university last year.
I forgot to mention DBU. That's like the top category that people debate.
LSU is DBU.
LSU is DBU.
100%.
Moving on, okay. Last best of this category, but best NFL Week 8 play. Abby, let's see it.
I mean, being from Atlanta, and you know, not a Falcons fan anymore, this honestly made me laugh. The Baker Mayfield 47-yard, what was it? I don't even know how far. Very far long touchdown to tie the game. Then, you know, he takes his helmet off, and I don't know if everybody knows the rest. So then there was a penalty, and the Falcons end up winning this game after countless mistakes made by the Panthers. But, I mean, this touchdown was just, like, easy for Carolina. It just shows, like, you know, the Falcons always have to mess it up in the end. So I thought it was a, you know, great play for the Panthers.
I'm going to take my play from the same exact game, just a different touchdown. Marcus Mariota, a 47-yard touchdown pass to Damiere Byrd. Throws it downfield. This dude literally runs sideways across the field and scores from the other end. Look at this guy. You know, I also like this play a lot because I like watching Marcus Mariota do well. He's one of those quarterbacks I really watched a lot in college. It was cool to see him kind of light up Florida State in the 2014 college football playoffs. His NFL success hasn't been the best compared to other quarterbacks from his draft class or his kind of age area. But it's good to see Mariota do well, and it's good to see him kind of get that win over the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that Damiere Byrd touchdown. Former Chicago Bear, Damiere Byrd, by the way. Going opposite field and making that play. Now, granted, the Panthers touchdown was an amazing play regardless, but I think it's kind of ruined over the fact that DJ Moore throws his helmet off, completely ruins the entire point of the touchdown, and then the Falcons somehow, in Atlanta fashion, come back and win the game. They finally caught a break.
Hey, Falcons were able to hold on for once, you know?
Yeah, shout out to Justin Gooseman. He was having a couple heart attacks watching that game. His heart rate was like flying up and down.
The whole entire TSTV crew from different shows, we all like to have our own favorite team that we cheer for, and so no matter what NFL game is on, there's always someone.
Someone's having a heart attack in the group chat.
Someone's just on a roller coaster. Well, that will wrap it up for the best plays of sports this week and the biggest bloopers. When we come back, we're interviewing Luke Lazarczyk from the Kansas State Collegian. We got some questions for him all about Kansas State football and their game this week against our very own Texas Longhorns. Can't wait. We'll call him in when we come back.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, Luke. So we kind of want to recap and kind of get into Kansas State football this season. We want to ask you about this game coming up on tomorrow night, but also kind of ask you about how y'all's season's going. So we got some questions we want to ask if you're ready to just get right into it.
Sure thing.
All right, so Kansas State is coming off a dominant 48-0 victory over Oklahoma State. What was the impression around Manhattan of that victory, and what allowed Kansas State to just dominate the Cowboys in that game?
I think Manhattan was very hyped after the game. It was probably the highest morale the team has had in quite some time, just overall expectations, because I feel like beating Oklahoma in previous years was really exciting for the program, but this win was more like K-State is a really good team, and now they faced a really good team and just dominated. And I think they're able to dominate just by opening up the field, consistent pressure on Spencer Sanders. I know that there is a few routes messed up and slipping for the Cowboys, but it's just constant pressure, and just the offense opened up completely to where everyone was involved, and it was just clicking right after the 4th and 10 conversion. Howard throwing the touchdown to Warner, just went from there.
Yeah, so what is this? With that being said, what is the ceiling for what K-State can accomplish this year?
I think the ceiling for K-State, I would say a Big 12 championship is definitely in the realm of possibility. I think the consensus among many K-State fans, obviously there could be some bias, but that the team should have beat TCU in that matchup, and that the team is better than TCU's team, even though TCU has looked great, and they played great in the second half against Wildcats. So I think the ceiling is Big 12 championship, and yeah, they could submit themselves as a top 10 program this year, I feel like.
It's going to take a lot of teams to kind of lose multiple games, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, losing the Tulane loss happened early on, and that was a tough one that I feel probably could have been won over. And then Will Howard playing against TCU, he was great, but then he got hurt, and it seems like there wasn't as many plays set up for Howard in the system. So, yeah, a couple losses, but this win, it sort of jumps off of this.
Gotcha.
So how does Kansas State manage a 4-game stretch down the road against teams that, although none of them are ranked, still have respectable talent? And, what's the key to staying on the track?
I think, the quarterback decision will be very interesting with that, going with Martinez or Howard. So wherever that goes, that sort of dictates the offense. But probably just continuing to play good team football and not get over their heads. The team has done a great job of staying consistent and playing as a whole unit. So that's probably the key. Instead of making amazing plays, it's just consistently playing as one whole unit.
What are the biggest takeaways you have from this season from the performances of running backs Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez?
Martinez is one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in college football, probably. His play, I feel like his running's been excellent, and his passing has a potential that it seems he hasn't unlocked yet, but he has the potential to. When he does decide to throw down the field, he's been pretty accurate, but he just hasn't taken those chances, which if he does go back to the starter role, that's something I'd look for him to do, to take more chances. And then Deuce Vaughn has just been he's just been a consistent, he does everything right. He's not just rushing, but as a receiver and even as a blocker, he just does all the fundamentals right, and he's been a little injured, nothing major in a couple games, but he just keeps going through, making the right play, the right read at all times.
So who do you think is going to get the start at quarterback for Kansas State tomorrow, and how is that going to affect the game plan for the Wildcats?
My gut says Will Howard, but I'm not sure. It's really tough. They're two very different quarterbacks. with Martinez, it's very run-centric, and the defenses against K-State sort of all get in the box, which sort of, I feel sometimes makes it difficult for Deuce to make more plays, and sometimes the receivers don't get as many chances. But with Howard, it seems like everything else opens up a little more. There's not as many big rush plays like there's been with Howard, but it opens it up for Deuce to have more consistent runs on a play-by-play basis. And Malik Knowles and Cade Warner at receiver have really played well with Howard. So if Howard plays, it's probably going to be more of a balanced offense, but with Martinez, it's more run-centric.
What is the key for a Kansas State victory tomorrow, and what is the key for a Texas victory?
For the Wildcats, it's pretty much you need to control Bijan Robinson in the battle of the running backs. Bijan just makes so many plays, and with the linebacker core is a little banged up. Daniel Green may not play. Austin Moore has been the leader of the linebackers. Jake Clifton, a true freshman, is getting some playing time, as the senior Nick Allen. So it'll be a whole team unit to stop Bijan. And then for Texas, assuming Will Howard plays, trying to make plays on the ball, maybe get a interception or two, because Howard will give his receivers a chance, giving defenders a chance. So if Texas could come out aggressive and get a couple takeaways, especially early on, that would be something for them which they could probably build on, and that may change the K-State offensive game plan.
And then finally, what is your prediction for the game on Saturday?
I think this will be a close one throughout, but I'm going to say the Wildcats pull it away. I think that the overall consistency of the defense and the team as a whole will just take over on Texas. Texas is very talented, but I feel that the Wildcats have overall team unit, which meanwhile not as talented, maybe just works together better. So I think that in the end, especially in the second half, will allow K-State to pull away with the win.
There you have it, Luke Lazarczyk. Thank you very much for joining us on the phone today. We look forward to the game tomorrow. Your Wildcats taking on our Longhorns. Should be a great game. Should be a close one. And yeah, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to the game tomorrow.
See you later. When we come back, we'll recap the CFP rankings that were first released just a couple days ago, first one of the season, and we'll also get to our picks for this week later. We can't wait to do that. It's always a very fun part of the show. You're watching Want to Know Sports. Welcome back into 1-0 Sports. We want to thank Luke Lazarczyk again for joining us all the way from Kansas State University. Should be a great game tomorrow night. Horns taking on the Wildcats. Well, earlier this week, the College Football Playoff Committee released their first rankings of the season, 25 all the way down to number 1. Really, what kind of matters most is the top 4 spots and then the first 2 out, spots 5 and 6. Abby, I think you and I, we want to go over who made that list, who was rated just right, and who was overrated and underrated. Why don't we start us off?
I mean, I love the Texas Longhorns, but they're overrated. I think, it's been a season. I think we've had some really good ups, but we've also had some downs. Quinn Ewers is just he's such a young player. I think there's potential in the future, but I mean, there's just been countless mistakes made by the Longhorns that I feel as if they don't really deserve that top 25, to be in the top 25. I really think. I think there's a lot of better teams that really deserve to be up there.
For those who don't know, the Horns are ranked 24, and I want to say that they're overrated too. As much as I really see Quinn Ewers as a great quarterback, it really pains me when Texas fans, we all think, oh, we're so good, and then we underperform. And we have 3 losses right now, It's hard to kind of, carry that oh, we're so good pride when we're losing 3 games. And I feel like I know how good Quinn Ewers is as a quarterback, but I just don't think we should be ranked as high as we're ranked right now. I think we're overrated. Moving on, Georgia was ranked at number 3 this weekend, or a couple days ago. Abby?
I'm kind of in between it being just right and underrated. I think, my whole thing is you can't beat us until you beat us. Tennessee has not beat us yet. That could very easily happen tomorrow, but they haven't done it yet. So, I mean, I'm a little stuck. I mean, I kind of like being the underdog in some parts because I don't want to be, I don't want my team to be the one that's number 1 and then they, disappoint. So I guess that sits right with me, but I don't know. I just feel like, once again, can't beat us until you can't beat us until you beat us. So I just think that, might be a little low on the scale.
Well, let's remember here, you go to the University of Texas,
yes,
though.
But, once a dog, always a dog.
Abby grew up a Georgia Bulldogs fan. I was a little bit of a fan, too, but I'm Texas at heart. I think they're underrated. I initially said properly rated, but
yeah.
I think they're underrated. I think Georgia's the best team in college football. They were absolutely dominant last year when they beat Alabama in the championship. Until another team proves me otherwise, they are the best team in college football. I think they should be at number 1. And, I think this whole Tennessee game, I think this is going to be a great matchup. Number 3 taking on number 1, but I think Georgia's still the best team. Yeah.
Can't beat us until you beat us.
Can't beat us.
It's a big, we'll see how it goes tomorrow, but.
Michigan Wolverines, the 5 spot.
I think they're overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're underrated, actually. Michigan should be higher than Clemson. Clemson has almost lost so many times. Clemson's bound to get their loss. It almost happened to Syracuse. I think it almost happened to Wake Forest. Clemson, obviously they're undefeated, but it shows that they have weakness in the amount of losses they've almost taken. Why is Michigan ranked lower than Clemson?
I agree on that. I just think that, once again, Michigan has to play Ohio State, and that's going to be the big test of them all. I think Ohio State's going to win that game. I just really don't think that Michigan is as good as they seem to be. I mean, they've played pretty well.
I'll give you that. I think the Buckeyes are better, too.
I just think they're a little overrated. I don't, I think TCU could be a better team than them. I don't know. Than Michigan.
Oh, Michigan? Yeah,
I just, we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, TCU's a great team, but I mean,
it's very hard.
I think Quinn Ewers kind of has that swagger to him that will kind of give him the win next weekend. I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know. Something's bound to happen to those Horned Frogs. Let's head over to Los Angeles. Number 9, USC.
Overrated. I mean, like you said, and Ole Miss. What's the deal here?
Why is Ole Miss?
Why are they ranked lower? I don't get it. I think. You know, part of the college football playoff rankings is trying to get, you know, somebody from each division. You know, they want to like show like, oh, we've got a Pac-12, we've got a Big 12, we've got a Big 10. I mean, obviously the SEC always dominates and there's always going to be one or two in the top four. So, you know, sometimes they try to like work them up in there. I just think that they're not as good as they seem to be. Or people are making them out to be.
That one loss Ole Miss has taken, I still think that they're a very good team. I actually
agree.
went down to College Station this past week and I saw them play A&M. They played a good game
They're a
to
great
help
team.
help get another one in the win column. But I think they're better than USC. You know, USC, they're pretty overrated. Let's go over to New Orleans, 19. Tulane. What do you think?
I think I'm going to have to change my answer from overrated to just right. I think that, you know, they've proven to be a decently good team. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I definitely think that they deserve their spot. I think they're good enough to beat some of their teams. I don't even know who they're playing in the next few weeks, but I think that they deserve this spot that they've been given.
I like this ranking. I really do. Tulane, you know, they were good enough to beat U of H. And even who we're playing tomorrow, Kansas State. And I think they deserve where they're at in the ranking right now. They deserve where they are until they get beat. They play UCF. That game's coming up in a couple weeks. I think that UCF Tulane game is going to tell us just how really good Tulane is. But right now, they deserve to be at that ranking because of who they have beaten. And I only think that like their future schedule is going to prove like if they deserve to be there or not. Yeah. I like the ranking a lot. Okay, here comes college football dynasty god, Alabama. What do you think?
I mean, I love it. They're number 6. This is like the greatest thing of all time coming from a Georgia fan and just a fan of everyone who hates Alabama. I mean, I think they're still a little overrated, honestly. I think, you know, they have come close. And, I mean, they lost to Tennessee. The Texas A&M game, they only won by 4 points. I mean, and Texas A&M isn't even ranked.
They're not, no.
So I don't, you know, the College Football Playoff Committee, they love Alabama. They always want to choose Alabama. Whatever, but it's great to see somebody else up there that's not them. I mean, obviously I'm happy to see Georgia, but just, I mean, I think they're still a little overrated. I just don't think that, you know, they're only up here as number 6 because of how much the College Football Playoff Committee, like, really likes them.
They're not the Bama we've always grown up to know.
No.
So,
hot take, I do not think Bryce Young is that good.
Oh.
I am not, I mean, I just don't think he's as special as people make him out to be. I mean, he won the Heisman, but I just don't.
So is that the hot take of the show? I mean,
I guess so.
I said Georgia is the best team in college football, no, outright. I mean, we've taken some pretty hot takes today. That Alabama Crimson Tide, that was the one team that you had a problem with their ranking. As for me, I'm gonna take a different kind of angle. North Carolina Tar Heels, I think they are underrated. They've come close to beating so many good teams. I mean, look at this. And they've beaten a lot of other really good teams. They beat Duke. They beat Notre Dame's not playing very well this year. They did lose to Notre Dame, but I mean, look how many points they're scoring. 32 against Notre Dame, 35 on Georgia State, 41 on Virginia Tech, 38 on Duke, 42 on Pitt. They can score. This team can score. They're underrated, but I think North Carolina, just with their ability to score and put up that many points in pretty much every single week, 30-plus points. Come on, let's rank the Tar Heels just a little bit higher.
I agree.
And that'll wrap it up for how we think and what we think, our opinions on the first college football playoff rankings of the season. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with our picks for this weekend's biggest games. Should be a lot of fun. We'll bring back on Tommy Yarrish to be our guest picker. Tommy, can't wait to have him. I know he's going to have some good picks in store, but you're watching One of Those Sports. We'll be right back. Welcome back into One to Know Sports. We'll wrap up the show with our picks for this weekend's biggest games in college football. Should be very exciting. We have Tommy back on set for us. Can't wait. Let's start it off. Florida taking on Texas A&M in College Station, 11 o'clock on ESPN.
I got to go with Florida. I just do. I don't want them to win, but they're going to win.
I'm taking the Aggies here. I'm going with my guy, Connor Wigman, to continue to lead this Texas A&M team. Played really well last week against Ole Miss, and the loss came up just short. Flu bug's going around College Station a little bit, so we'll see if that impacts anything, but Wig'em, baby.
Tommy and Connor Wigman, pretty good bonds that started in high school. I'm taking the Gators. A&M's on the decline right now. This is turned into the season that's like, this is our season. So this might not be our season. This is a rebuild season now.
Yeah.
Gators got this one. Baylor taking on Oklahoma at 2 o'clock on ESPN+.
Baylor. I think Baylor's going to win this game. I think Oklahoma's a really bad team, and Baylor is just an overall better team that will dominate this game.
I think that the only thing Oklahoma has going for him right now is Dylan Gabriel, and I think Baylor's defensive line gives him a chance to shut him down, and if he's shut down, Oklahoma essentially looks like what they looked like against Texas. I'm taking the Bears here.
I'm taking the Sooners. I still think after that 3-game losing streak that started off the Big 12, that they started off in the Big 12, I still think that Oklahoma finds a way to bounce back, even though they don't have the talent that they had last year. They're still Oklahoma. They're still going to find a way to win. That culture is still there. Sooners got this one. Number 18, Oklahoma State taking on Kansas, 2:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1.
Oklahoma State's got this one. I mean, they're just the better team. I don't have much to say.
Yeah, I think after losing so embarrassingly last week to Kansas State, this is a week where Mike Gundy gets his guys back and gets his guys ready for this game. He's as good of a coach as you'll find when it comes to consistent winning, and I think this is a game where the Cowboys bounce back. I'm taking the Pokes.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. Oklahoma State's got this game. I think that there's the straight-up better team. They're ranked. Kansas basically, this is obviously not the season that they thought it would be when it first started, but this is not going to be a dogfight.
Largely in part to Jalen Daniels being out.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's just that much, I feel like, just that much of a bigger dog than Kansas.
No doubt.
All right, I think this is obviously going to be the game of the week in the college football world. This is a hard one for me, but this is going to be a very exciting game to watch. Number 1, Tennessee, going all the way to Athens to take on number 3, Georgia, 2:30 p.m. prime time on CBS.
I think, it's going to be a very difficult game for both teams. I think I just changed my answer now that I'm thinking about it. The culture in Athens and game day is going to bring this home. I think it is going to be down to the last second, Tennessee, Alabama vibes. But I really do believe in my Georgia Bulldogs that they can pull this one out and take back their number 1 ranking that they deserve.
No bias there, huh? I think that the Sanford Stadium is going to be electric, but Tennessee has played in huge environments like this before. Neyland Stadium was rocking against Alabama. I think that the Vols offense is going to be what wins them this game. Their tempo is going to wear down the Georgia defense, so I'm going with the Vols here on this one.
I still am going to stand by what I said earlier in the show. Georgia's the best team in college football. This is going to be a great game. Tennessee's going to put up a fight, but I think Georgia just comes out on top and proves to everyone again that we're still the best team. But can we take a moment to appreciate the offensive battle we're going to have?
It's going to be insane.
Jalen Hyatt, Hayden Hooker, Brock Bowers, and Stetson Bennett. Oh my gosh!
I don't know about Stetson Bennett. How much of an offensive weapon he is.
He's proved himself this year.
I still think he's garbage.
So. I think this is going to be a fun QB battle.
It'll be a lot of fun, but Hendon Hooker is miles ahead of Stetson Bennett.
We'll see tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow. West Virginia taking on Iowa State, 2:30 p.m. on ESPN+.
Iowa State. I think Texas played Iowa State. I think them winning. I think Iowa State's going to be the better team here.
Yeah, I liked how Iowa State looked against Texas. Xavier Hutchinson is a really talented player offensively, and I think he's the one part of this game that picks apart the West Virginia defense. Iowa State's really good at managing the game. Matt Campbell's a really good coach defensively, so I think I'm going to go with the Cyclones here.
I'm going with the Mountaineers. They're really good this season at keeping it close to so many teams and then losing. This is going to be the one game where they finally capitalize. West Virginia. Alabama, number 6, taking on LSU in Death Valley, number 10, 6 o'clock on ESPN.
You know, I think being in Death Valley really is going to make it a hard game, but I do think Alabama will come out on top here. I think, you know, like I said earlier, I don't think Bryce Young is that great, but, I mean, I think here he's going to have a great game, and this is going to be an easy win. I think it will be a pretty easy win for Alabama.
Funny on the notes here, Robert's got Florida State winning this game. So, hey, Mike Norvell, good job, buddy. I think saying that Bryce Young is overrated is the most outrageous statement I've ever heard on this show. No offense. That being said, I think that this environment, you know, Death Valley at night is going to be unbelievable. It always is. And Alabama isn't the same road team that they have been in the past. We saw that when they played against Texas. We saw that against Tennessee. So I'm taking the Tigers on this one, Brian Kelly. It's a huge win in year 1.
Yeah, I'm changing my pick from the Seminoles.
That's probably a good idea.
I just don't think LSU's even that good. Crimson Tide. I didn't even realize how high they were ranked before I came on this show.
Yeah.
Alabama. It's not.
Death Valley is going to make it a really interesting game, though. I mean, that is a great stadium to play at, and it's going to be hard being on the road there, especially, like you said, Alabama not being that on-the-road team that they've been where they can come in and just, like, kick it and done and be out. Like, I think it's going to make it interesting that it's in Death Valley, but I don't know. Alabama.
But can we think of the amount of times people have said that exact same thing, and Alabama just goes into Death Valley at night and just
But it's in the past. Right? That's in the past.
That's in the past.
In the past.
We said that about Tennessee. We said that about Texas. I even said, I think, if it wasn't on this show,
Texas
it was on another.
Texas never played in Death Valley at night in recent years.
No. But I'm saying Alabama going away, right? Alabama on the road. I said on the show that Alabama's beating Texas by 21 in DKR. And look at what happens. This is not the same Alabama team as they've been on the road. That being said, Jaden Daniels has had a phenomenal year for LSU. If you look at his numbers compared to Bryce Young, they're right about the same when it comes to per-game averages and overall season averages. So this is going to be a really interesting quarterback battle.
All right, yeah, we'll see how they play tomorrow. All right. Number 4, Clemson, taking on unranked Notre Dame, 6:30 on NBC.
Clemson's going to dominate this game. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with this one. I think that the Tigers are going to be too much. I will be interested to see, though, who trots out there at quarterback. Are we going to see DJ Uiagalelei, or are we going to see Austin Westlake legend Cade Klubnik, who came in last week against Syracuse and really managed the game well towards the end of the game? Samantha Pearl, our stage manager, Cade Klubnik's best friend and former Westlake alumni to the side here. Robert and I covered Cade in high school, and he was just phenomenal and a lot of fun to watch at Westlake. Really excited to see how his career pans out at Clemson.
Regardless of the quarterback position, I'm taking Clemson. Regardless, yeah. I thought I did hear Dabo Sweeney say that DJ would be taking over still at the starting spot the rest of the season. That was for last week at least. I don't know if they had a bye or they played, but it's going to be Clemson regardless. Notre Dame, they've just proven to me their only big win this season that I feel like they've gotten was that North Carolina team who I've talked about earlier, but it's going to be Clemson this week. Florida State taking on the Hurricanes, Miami, Florida, 6:30 on ABC.
I mean, I hope you have Florida State in this one, or at least one of the teams
at least
here.
They're playing.
Florida State.
I think Florida State's going to win this game. I don't think there's a question about it. I think they've really. I don't know if they've proven to be a great team, but I just think that they're better than Miami, and it's just going to be a pretty easy win for them. But, it is a rival, I guess, if you want to call it that, Florida State, Miami. But I think Florida State's going to dominate this game.
Yeah, I think Miami's an unserious football program this year. They've really, really struggled, and they've lost some incredibly embarrassing games in embarrassing fashion. And Mario Cristobal has a lot to work on, so I'm taking the Noles.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida State, too. I mean, look, they beat LSU, and I know we were just talking about how good do we think LSU is, but I think Miami's not even that good of a team either. Like you said this year, it's gonna be the Seminoles. 6:30 on ABC. All right, this was kind of a hard one to pick because the teams are so ranked so close together. 21 Wake Forest taking on 22 NC State. 7 o'clock tomorrow night on the ACC network. Who do we have?
I mean, not that I don't really know much about either team very well, but from what I do know, I have a good feeling that NC State is going to pull this one out. You know, it's at NC State. I mean, I think Wake Forest has done well this year, but I just have this gut feeling that NC State's going to pull it out and win the game. But I think it's going to be very close. I don't think it's going to be somebody dominating over the other team.
Yeah, I think this will be a close one as well, but I'm taking Wake Forest here. I think Sam Hartman is the sole X factor here. This is one of those games where he just explodes for 400 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns. I'm taking Wake Forest.
Yeah, I'm going to take Wake Forest too. NC State's quarterback is out for the remainder of the season. I think that's going to affect him pretty largely. Wake Forest is still a good team. They almost beat Clemson. We're going to go with Demon Deacons. All right, the game you've all been waiting for. Texas Longhorns taking on Kansas State in Manhattan tomorrow, 6 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. What do we got?
I hate to be this person, but the Texas Longhorns, they're not going to win tomorrow. I just don't see it. I think Kansas State is clearly the better team. I think we're a very young team, like I said earlier, that has a lot to work on. And I think we're working on it now, and it's like, I can't even explain. We're working on it now, but it's not good enough to beat a team like this. It's not going to, I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to have a great game. I think their defense is going to really put pressure. I really think Texas is going to come out of this with a loss. I don't know from how big of a loss, I can't really tell, but I think Kansas State's going to take this game.
I think this is a very interesting game and a very hard game to pick just because these are two teams that it's going to be a barn burner, I think. I don't think this is going to be a close game or a defensive showcase whatsoever, just because there's a lot of offensive weapons really on both sides. It's going to be interesting to see who Kansas State throws out there at quarterback, whether it's Will Howard or Adrian Martinez, because that's two completely different offensive looks. I think Texas wants to see Will Howard so that there's less of a dual threat rushing attack from Adrian Martinez being in there, because that's really all he's in there for. We heard in the interview earlier that that's what Martinez brings to the offense, and Texas has struggled against those kinds of quarterbacks during the season. And with guys like Anthony Cook being questionable, Ryan Watts, another guy who might be out there, I'm much more comfortable with Will Howard being out there if I'm Texas. But nonetheless, I think this is a bounce-back game for the Longhorns. Quinn Ewers obviously struggling in his first game on the road. I think that's just, if you want to get that out of your system, you get that out now. And you come back and have a big game this week. I think Steve Sarkisian mentioned in his press conference earlier this week that he showed Quinn his years back at BYU, a big game against Fresno State after the loss to Utah a week before in the Holy War. I think Quinn Ewers kind of emulates that and has a little bit of a better game. Texas pulls out a narrow victory in Manhattan.
This is in seasons past where the season hasn't gone the way Texas has wanted to. This is kind of the time of the season where Texas begins to fall apart, and a Texas loss would kind of seem like we've seen this before. But I feel like Quinn Ewers, I think he's still that guy. He's not going to let this happen to Texas. I think he's going to prove himself tomorrow that he still deserves to be under center and kind of help Texas out this season. Texas wins tomorrow in a close one, though.
Texas has won the past 5 in these matchups, too, against Kansas State.
Yeah, I think he wants to keep that streak alive.
Absolutely.
6 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. That'll wrap up our picks, and that's going to be it for this morning. But make sure you tune in next week at 10 a.m. and be sure to check out our sister shows, College Press Box on Monday nights at 9:30 and College Crossfire, hosted by Tommy Yarrish on Wednesday nights at 9. Have a good day. I'm Robert Gonsoulin.
I'm Abbie Barkan.
And this is Tommy Yarrish. Thanks for tuning in to Want to Know Sports on Friday mornings. Be sure, we hope to see y'all tune in next week. Have a nice day.
Sweet.
You really think Texas?